Grace, mercy, and peace to you all. In the name of God our Father and our Lord and Savior Jesus. Amen. You join me in the word of prayer. Lord God, Heavenly Father, we thank you that we have you to help. That you are a helper beyond all of our attempts at help. That you have given us the great help, our Lord Jesus Christ, to come into our midst, to walk among us, to live among us, to be our help. Lord, today as we reflect on this word and we reflect on who you are and what you do here in this world, may we always be people who look to you for our help. We ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen. So looking at the word today, a couple of things that just kind of come out a little bit on background for this. Isaiah, the prophet. Isaiah has a lot of things that go on in the book of Isaiah. It's a big book. Go ahead and read it. Isaiah talks from Isaiah 42 on. He has these moments, these interludes, these places where he has these things that are called, that have been identified as being these servant songs. And so Isaiah, as he has these servant songs, he has 4 of them that happen between Isaiah 42 and Isaiah 53. And they talk about this servant that will come from God, the servant who will be God's servant, who will enter into this place, who will do the work that God has asked him to do. And the reading that we have from Isaiah today, Isaiah 50, has one of those servant songs in it. So it's Isaiah 42, 1 through 4-ish, and Isaiah 49, 1 through 6, and then here in Isaiah 50, 4 through 9. And then probably the most famous one, which I just want to read for a second to kind of help you have some other connection to this, is Isaiah 52, 13 through 53, 12. And that one just goes like this. See, my servant will act wisely. He will be raised and lifted up and highly exalted. Just as there were many who were appalled at him, his appearance was so disfigured beyond that of any human being, and his form marred beyond human likeness. So he will sprinkle many nations, and kings will shut their mouths because of him. For what they were not told, they will see, and what they have not heard, they will understand. Who has believed our message, and to whom has the Lord of the arm of the Lord been revealed? Well, tongue-tied today. He grew up before him like a tender shoot, and like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him. Nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him in low esteem. Surely he took up our pain and bore our suffering. Yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him, and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. You may have heard that before, right? We use that every year. The Christian Church uses that every year as part of our Holy Week activity, our Holy Week reading from Monday, Thursday into Good Friday. We talk about this servant that comes from God. And so you have, in the Isaiah 50 reading that we have today, you have this moment where it talks about this servant being helpless. Right? He's helpless. The visual imagery of this servant having his beard pulled out. If you've never had a beard, grow on it and then have somebody tug on it, it hurts. Right? I mean, you can probably just do this with regular hair too. You don't have to grow a beard if you don't want to. It's up to you. I like growing them. That's me. So you have a servant who's helpless. Right? That's the point. Here he is. He's helpless. There's people. They beat him. They spit on him. He is stricken, smitten, and afflicted, as we like to sing on occasion. Here's this servant who's the helpless servant. And then you also have this servant who is being helped. That there's some sort of this relief involved. He knows where to look for his help. He knows that even as people hurt him, abuse him, misuse him, that there is one who is the help for him. And this servant, Isaiah, will have us sing, will have us speak, will have us remember all the time, on and on. This servant is the one who comes from God. And so there's this very straight line that people for the last 2,000 years have been doing. They've been looking right from Isaiah to Jesus. And they said, yep, absolutely, there's a straight line from this servant who Isaiah identified and said, this one is coming from God, and here is this Jesus, and absolutely we get to look to him. And that brings us to Mark. Right? Because in Mark 9, you have this man and his son. So his father and his son. And the father is at this point of exasperation. Right? You have a father and a son in this story. The part right before Jesus had gone up on the mountain, this is actually the Transfiguration story, so right before this. Jesus goes up on the mountain with Peter, James, and John. He leaves the other 9 down there, not on the mountain. And they're having some controversy, some conversation going on there. And as Jesus comes down the mountain, you meet this father and the son. And the father and the son, here's this reality for them. They're helpless. They are helpless people. How long has this been going on for? Well, since he was little. If you've ever been in any sort of chronic health situation where just things have not gotten better, you've had chronic behavioral, emotional, relational, whatever it is, situation where things have not gotten better. You know where you get to, right? You get to this kind of like this resignation and anger and frustration and sadness and all of these things that they just kind of ball up together. And here's this man and his son who are there, and they are helpless. And they are surrounded by people who are less than helpful. Right? There's some sort of argument that's going on between the disciples that were down there and some teachers of the law, some sort of authorities that are happening there. And the disciples of Jesus, these ones who have been following him, they can't bring about any sort of casting out of demons, even though, they pretty sure they know what they're doing. They couldn't figure it out. How do we do this? What's wrong? How come we can't do this? You've got this helpless man, this helpless son, really these truly helpless disciples. A lot of other helpless people around who can't seem to do anything. Maybe they're sitting there just sitting in judgment, like there's something this man must have done in order for his son to be possessed by this sort of demon. What do? The man looks and calls out to Jesus. He says, "Help me! Help me!" We are helpless. The spiritual reality that you and I live under is this state of helplessness. But I don't think you really believe that. I think this is part of the problem with sin. I don't often really believe it about me because I'm big and strong and powerful. I know that I can do so many things, and I have the ability, the capacity to take care of all sorts of things. And so rarely do I get to the point where I call out to Jesus, where I beg of Jesus to help me. Because I'm really not that bad off. Right? And certainly there's other people that are far worse off than me. I'm not helpless. It takes a guy and a son being possessed for that reality of our spirit to come out, and we are helpless. So we are helpless in this moment. This man and his son are helpless, the disciples are helpless, the people are helpless. The only person who is not helpless is the helper. Except for this helper in this story, this man and the son continue on in their path and their way for the rest of their days. Except for the helper in this story, there is no good, there is no newness, there is no renewing, there is no life. Except for the helper in this story, there is nothing. It's just going to be the way that it was. See, being in ministry, Megan's been in this ministry for 10 years. Being in ministry, I've been in this for 13, or 8.5 with Megan. One of the things that being in ministry really does teach you, most of the time, is that you're helpless. You come up to situations, to things that were simmering long before you got there, and might go on long after your presence. And God asks you to go into these situations and say, okay, well, go, Megan. Go, people. And you realize pretty soon that you can't fix things. That it's not really possible. You can listen, you can help, you can be present. These are things that God calls us to do. But you can't fix it. Having a job in ministry really reminds you truly that you are actually helpless. Helpless. I invite you to think on that. To think on the places, the people, the conversations, the prayers, whatever it is that you've offered, and to realize that you yourself in these places are helpless. Because that's what Jesus wants us to see today, that we ourselves are helpless. And that without Him, there isn't help. Without Him, there's without the servant that Isaiah calls out, without the one who willingly exposes himself to helplessness, all the while firmly trusting that there is one who helps him. Without that, we're just kind of like the father and the son, hanging out in the story, wanting some resolution, wanting some sort of something, but not ever able to find it. This story reveals just this incredibly basic thing for us, that without our helper, there is no help. But our helper has come. Our helper has come. Isaiah sings about that. That if Mark points to the helper and he says, there's the one, this Jesus is your help. If you live in a way that firmly and fundamentally believes that you are your help, you are not going to look for the helper who can actually help. If you live in a way that says, I don't need any help, you are not going to look for the one who has come to help, the one that Isaiah sings of. And Jesus today says, look for the help. Look for the one who has the power. Look for the one who has power over life, over death. The one who has chosen to act, to help you. Jesus is your help, today and forever. And may you sing, may you call out to Him, may you see this one who willingly chooses you to help. In the name of this Jesus, amen. Oh Lord, we thank you. We thank you that you are our help. We thank you, Lord, that you reveal to us through your word again and again how you come into this place for people who are broken in body and broken in spirit. And that, Lord, you bring the healing. You bring healing in this time and into eternity. You bring healing for us as we see how truly broken we are. And Lord, we ask that in these days we may always simply, forever, call out to you, to beg of you, to shout out to you. Help us, Lord. Help us. In your name, Jesus.